Hey team, let's talk about evil. Specifically in Pokemon games, but still evil here and there, and perhaps some mischief as well. I'm a much bigger fan of mischief and tomfoolery than I am of evil. Their new Pokemon trailer that just came out a few days ago, more of the same stuff. It looks really, really good. I think I'm really, really gonna enjoy Scarlet and Violet when they came out. The two armor guys look really, really cool. But something that really did strike me, I would say the thing that struck me the most about this trailer was the reveal of the new team, the new evil team as they're called in Pokemon, and that some critics have judged them for not being that evil of a team. You know, they're not really evil. They're not like Dr. Eggman. You want me to show you some real evil? Let's check out Dr. Eggman. But I think that this trend of troublemakers, mischief makers, tomfoolery type behaviors is a great trend for Pokemon. I think that this should be the standard, and it makes a lot of sense to me why they're continuing to do it. And I'm going to tell you why. I really, really like Team Star, not just because I'm Star Drew and I'd probably get on the team, but I think that they're a much more grounded type of force in these games, and they have been. The teams in question, the not so evil teams, you got Team Skull in Alola in Gen 7, which was kind of the evil team. There was some stuff going on with a certain Pokemon rights organization as well that they were involved with. And then in Gen 8 we had the Team Yell, which was the, I guess, famously less than evil team, where they had no malicious intent whatsoever in reality. They were a group of fans that was really, really excited, and honestly, for the most part, they were essentially the good guys in the end, compared to the actual challenge of the game. And now we have Team Star coming out in Gen 9, and they are called, in the title, in the trailer, they are referred to as troublemakers. Not villains, not stormtroopers or agents of chaos, but troublemakers. And they're your fellow students at the school that you're going to in Scarlet and Violet as well, which I think is another point of note. Like, there's so much familiarity there. Like, at the very least with Team Yell, like, they were on a different football team. Here in Scarlet and Violet, like, no, we're going to the same school. These are the troublemakers. I guess these are like the schoolyard bullies. You know, there's a whole level there. No, like I hated the bullies and when I was in school, but these don't really seem like the villainous types. They seem maybe intimidating and powerful at times. They have like the giant car that rolls by, and the leader is, you know, she's looks very, very fiery, and like she like would stare daggers through you. It seems like they're going to be more leaders too. They refer to it as the singular squad, so maybe there'll be way more to do with this team, more to be seen. Clearly, they are not the point. Clearly, they are not the emphasis, and they haven't been the point. The evil team has not been the point in Pokemon for a really long time, since before Gen 7. Like I mentioned. And I think we had a big dip in Gen 5 and Gen 6 in regards to this, where it was beginning to show that the whole evil team formula is not all that it's cracked up to be. Here they are more obstacles. You know, they're silly, they're goofy, they're troublemakers. They are maybe an obstacle for you to pass by, but they're certainly not the focus. Certainly not the focus. And that's the point. That's the way that it should be. Pokemon is becoming more and more of the magical, mystical idea that we had of it when we were kids. The hero's journey, a journey of self-discovery. You and your best friends traveling around the country, growing, journeying, exploring, meeting new people, making new friends, catching Pokemon, being with your friends. It's not about a 10-year-old stopping a terrorist organization. That's what it has been about, but not the point of Pokemon, if that makes sense. Because for one, the character is 10. Character is a 10-year-old in a world with law enforcement and adults that say, go get them, go get those bad guys because you're such a good Pokemon trainer. No, that's not the point. The point is catching Pokemon. It's catching Pokemon, doing that adventure, and the evil team generally is a distraction from this, and it is alienating to the player. What do I mean by alienating in that way? Well, it's less focused. You take on more of an identity assumed by the games in this way when you are forcefully pitted up against a team that is labeled outright as evil. And I think the classic example with some things done right, some things done well is Team Rocket. In the first games, you're going on your hero's journey, you are adventuring, you're meeting Pokemon, you're meeting new friends, you are journeying through the lands, and then Team Rocket shows up, and they're being a little pesky, and for the most part, they are just in your way. Like getting to Saffron City, they just happen to be in your way in those games. And then ultimately, you need the 8th gym badge, and it's like, oh, big surprise. Huge spoilers coming out for the Gen 1 games right now. But Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, is the final gym leader. And it's like, oh my gosh, just get out of my way. You gotta get out of my way. But to this end, you assume the duty of a hero, for better or less, and you assume values placed upon you by the people of the Kanto region. So while obviously obstacles are gonna come up on your journey, the part of the journey is the gym badges. That is the overarching goal in Pokemon. That one is tried and true and is never deviated from its course, because that is what Pokemon is about. You take your Pokemon and you go up against the pre-prescribed challenges, and the evil team doesn't necessarily have to not be that, but it is presented in a way that is different from that, where it's like, oh my gosh, normally the Pokemon children, they just go get the gym badges, but for this one moment, suddenly we're being besieged by terrorists, and you're the only one that can help us. They're bad, we're good, you gotta get them. And not that they're not bad, certainly they are bad, but it's a distraction. It is something that ultimately takes away from that goal, because at the end of the day, you are doing somebody else's dirty laundry. When you as the player are being assigned to take care of this evil team, when you had your own goals and ambitions and desires to fill out in this journey, and it's generally quite ham-fisted because it's a children's game. I think that this is another thing that Team Rocket gets right. In the world of Pokemon trafficking is happening, and they're being bad, and that's not good. Somebody should stop them. Why does it have to be us? Why does it have to be the young upstart who just left home and is figuring things out, is going on a journey of their own? Not that there's not going to be hardships, but maybe this one is a little bit out of our ballpark. I've always had that concern. Certainly the game works. Pokemon wouldn't be a thing, but the game still works, but it could always be better. It could always be better in this regard. Gen 2 does a lot of the same. It's still Team Rocket. I think Gen 3, ramping up with this, the implications and topics of climate and weather and environmental balance are brought into play. And I think that this one is a lot more fair to the player, because the crisis is something that is happening to the world. Again, this should not be the player's job, and it shouldn't be the job of a 10-year-old child who is going on a journey of self-discovery. It feels like somebody else's work. It feels like I'm getting assigned to something that I didn't sign up for, and that is part of life. That is part of life. It's gonna happen, but to this extreme, to the point where you're essentially like a novice engaging in rocket science, this is not your job. Fortunately, it's all Pokemon battling is the way that you deal with these crooks. That was always another weird part of it too. Like suddenly they just stop being evil because you beat them in a Pokemon battle. Now certainly the implication is that you could wipe the floor with them in real life using these Pokemon, but as soon as you win the Pokemon battle, they generally just stop. And it's all very removed from the journey, in that it is a extremely telegraphed obstacle. So Gen 3, I think that this gets it a bit better in regards to this, in that it's something that is happening to everyone, and the circumstances that the player is experiencing, they are more equipped in the right place and in the right time, certainly, to deal with the challenges being put in front of them, because the threats here are not necessarily people and them being evil. It's Pokemon. That's a big difference. That's a big difference that wasn't present in the first two generations. That is one way that they can center these evil teams, where it's like, well, the point of the journey is Pokemon. Ultimately, what you're going up against is Pokemon. That helps a lot. Kyogre and Groudon and Rayquaza, we have aligned goals here. We certainly have aligned goals here. I am interested in seeing them and dealing with them, and I guess I don't want something awful to happen to the entire region of Hoenn. So I'm in the mix. Still not great. This one feels a lot more natural because it's something that the player would be interested in doing if you're interested in Pokemon. Same can be said for Gen 4, different set of circumstances, but you know, I'm totally interested in the lore and myths of the Sinnoh region. And something that this game does well in Diamond and Pearl is they have characters like Cynthia who kind of seed the lore to you, get you independently interested in these challenges that ultimately the evil team gets intertwined with, the box legendaries. You know, they kind of ramp you and rope you into it, and through the intertwining of those two issues, and you want to deal with Dialga and Palkia at the end of the game. Team Galactic happens to be there, but it's like I'm interested in this, and I think that you're wrong. That's the important part, is getting you to care in a way that doesn't go outside of your pre-stated ambitions, because I shouldn't have to deal with this if I'm not supposed to be the person to deal with this. So those games make the struggle feel more voluntary, because I want Pokemon, I want legendary Pokemon. I'm interested in legendary Pokemon are being bad, and to stop them, I get to catch them. Could be good all around. And then we get to Gen 5, where this is also the case. Pokemon are entrenched in the role of the evil team. But something is a lot different in Gen 5. When I mentioned Mischief and Mayhem earlier, that is not Team Plasma in Gen 5. They are evil. Well, the leader is evil. Getsus is very, very evil, and he does a lot of very explicitly evil things. These games are much more mature, certainly, and they are saying a lot of really great things. I am, like, in love with the lore and themes of Gen 5, but to the end that I've been talking about, I kind of disagree with the placement. With such an evil man, you know, he's abused this child and for his entire life, and he's given him like a second identity, and he's brainwashed him, and he's lied to all of these people, and he's lied to pretty much everybody to get what he wants, which is just the power of the legendary Pokemon. And he's built this castle around the Elite Four and worked secretly to achieve all of these goals. Why am I, a 10-year-old child, dealing with it if I don't want to? It feels very arbitrary. Not in a way that it's not important, but in the way that a untrained civilian should be dealing with like rocket science or in any other extremely advanced field. Like a little bit out of my pay grade, maybe. Fortunately, they rope the player in because you're interested in Pokemon. They teach you about Kyurem, they teach you about Zekrom and Reshiram before you get to these points of the game, so that ultimately your goals align. Something about this whole experience is very alienating, because at a certain point, I would just have to say, like I wouldn't even want to deal with this now, and I'm 20-something. If I was 10, maybe Pokemon would come into the question, but this is like, I'm supposed to be figuring out me. I'm not here to deal with your problems. I'm supposed to be here to figure out me. And that's what Pokemon is about. Pokemon is about me. Pokemon is about you. You're the one playing the Pokemon. I am not here to deal with the terrorist onslaught going on in the region right now. Like what the heck? I am, for all intents and purposes, I am a child who is most interested in growing up and doing me things. So this is something that I think the next set of games, Gen 6, X and Y, even though they had evil teams, I think that they got this right. Evil teams are a bit more comical in this game, and the villain's overall goal is just, I hate everybody, essentially. I'm an asshole. I'm evil. I'm not nice, and I'm really, really mad. Because this is ultimately the cartoony nature of it to begin with. Like, for this to effectively work in the way that it's being presented, the bad guy has to be actually ham-fisted. There can be no room for grayness in the way that the message is presented to a child or to somebody who this isn't their fight specifically. Lysander is presented as a very angry and sour person who is just pissed at the world. He is evil because he is, and he's bad, and you're good, and he's bad, and that's not good, and we gotta stop this guy. But certainly this loses a lot of the intended effect that the Gen 5 and games that came before it had. You know, it's that corniness, but certainly to the power, the empowering of the trainer and the hero's journey, it's much more effective. And then from then on is when we get to see the less than evil teams, the mischief makers, the ones who feel more like schoolyard bullies rather than overwhelming evils with entire criminal organizations under them. Because in life and on these journeys, certainly there's going to be obstacles, but there's not going to be obstacles that are the size of the entire world, entire armies. Team Rocket is described as an army. Team Rocket grunts grow on trees. They are everywhere. They are a well-organized army. Their Pokemon are not that strong for whatever reason. They're all bugs and rats and poison things, but they are an army of people, of adults at the very least, who don't care about animals or people and love money. That's a little out of my pay grade. The obstacles, real obstacles for individuals who have the clothes on their back and then a couple of superpowered animals, well, they're much more realistic in these games. They're much more grounded. Team Skull is a bunch of hooligans. They are simply hooligans. They're a group of as well organized as a group of hooligans can get. And ultimately it is revealed that they are sort of in cahoots with the actual evil force of the game, which you get roped into dealing with. Team Skull feels like a natural obstacle. You know, somebody who's having a bad day, somebody who doesn't agree with you, somebody who's really, really pissed for some reason, but doesn't have infinite money and worldly ambitions to be an evil villain. They are somebody who's just walking here, or somebody who is guarding this area and because it's their turf. These are more in line with the obstacles that you can rightfully be expected to deal with as someone on a personally motivated journey of discovery. Obviously they're going to be there. These obstacles are going to be there. Team Yell, I think, does it even better. They have no evil intention, no evil motivations. They're not even bad. They have no explicit badness. They are merely someone who disagrees with you. You want to win the world tournament in Sword and Shield. Team Yell wants Marnie to win the world tournament in Sword and Shield. Marnie's a good person. You're a good person, presumably. Neither of these people can be said that they're wrong in any way. Marnie is a saint. Marnie does nothing wrong. She is so nice. And you don't really do anything wrong either. You don't get the chance to because they never let you talk, which is a good thing on these Journey of Self-Discovery games, by the way. Both of these characters are fine. Team Yell, they just are the fans of the other protagonist. This is also important. This is very, very important because the evil team framing also places the protagonist in a world that is filled with NPCs. And obviously, single-player games are going to feel they're by definition you versus a bunch of NPCs, but storytelling can alleviate that stress a lot of the time. It doesn't have to feel that way. It can feel good despite that. This is something that Sword and Shield, for me, got right, is that it is filled with characters with their own ambitions. Hop is a character who is clearly doing his own thing. He didn't base his entire life around the player trainer like some rivals had. He is doing his own thing, and he has aspirations and goals that are independent of yours. They are revolving around his big brother Leon in a lot of cases, but he grows over the course of the game. Marnie has her own ambitions. Bede has her own ambitions. Sonia has her own ambitions. These are characters who feel like other players in a world. It's not just you versus this world. It's a world that you're actually living in. And the Team Yell grunts, the Team Yell peers, they fall in this category as well. They feel the same way, ultimately, because they are not just the bad guys. That's the problem, the bad guys. These are different opinion guys. And it's something that you can actually disagree about, too, you know? I think Drew should win. I'm Drew and I'm awesome. Team Drew all the way. I think Marnie should win. Marnie's the best. And we have a lot of good reasons why she should win also. Team Marnie all the way. Team Yell. Let's just call it Team Yell. You know, Team Marnie's a mouthful. I can appreciate that a lot more as a human because that's just the way that it works. And so this seems to be the way that this new Team Star is going to be. You know, they're a bunch of hooligans. Doesn't really seem to be clear what their goals are, but I can contrast them against the player's goals, which is to do the Grand Treasure Hunt. The Grand Treasure Hunt is all about finding the treasure or whatever it is and going on a journey of discovery and getting those gym badges. What it's not about is a 10-year-old being conscripted, especially a school child, officially a school child, being conscripted to fight a evil terrorist organization. Team Star seems to be much more in line with the struggles and reality of the situation that a person on a journey would face. Team Skull and Team Yell feel the same way. This is something that Pokemon games should keep doing because they are embracing what is important about Pokemon. Scarlet and Violet is highlighting open world, playing with your friends, going on a journey of discovery, as did Arceus. Arceus got a lot of stuff wrong in this field, but it seems like Scarlet and Violet is going to patch those holes and come up with something really, really good and something with a lot of feeling. The Less Than Evil teams, they're great for Pokemon. They are a much more grounded and realistic facet in a world that is about the player. Not necessarily singularly revolving around the player, but the story is about the player. And the player lives in a world with characters that are not just good or bad. They're all different shades of gray. This goes beyond Pokemon. This is just good storytelling. And when you have organizations and characters that are, broad strokes brush painted to just be, oh, I'm the evil guy, oh, I'm the good guy. A lot of that impact is lost. A lot of the journey's impact is lost because you don't get to make those choices. You don't get to make any calls when it says get Team Rocket because they're bad. Some choice is taken away from you. And certainly some of these components are a hardware limitation. Only in recent times could we get the open world Pokemon game we've always been dreaming of, but we have gotten these facets in previous games, even with those limitations. So I think it's a very, very good thing, and I'm very much looking forward to the continuation of this trend and seeing the way that it unfolds here, because not only is it a good storytelling facet, it's really interesting and has the capacity to be really interesting in a lot of ways. Team Yell ended up being a super interesting organization that originally got panned for being really, really corny, even cornier than Team Skull. They were the most interesting one to me. The entire backstory of the town that Marnie and Piers and Team Yell grew up in, more interesting than any of the other evil teams had to offer. More depth, less black and white, more gray, better storytelling. That's all I got for you. I'm really looking forward to these new games. I hope you are too. Let me know what you think, and we will be back with more Pokemon story game breakdown real soon. Have a good one, y'all.